So, hey, everybody, welcome. Welcome to our book study group for Monday, the 13th of December. I'm still in my gym clothes. You guys who were on general session saw me exactly like this 12 hours ago or whatever it was. Yeah. So we are going to go ahead and cover the next four chapters of the classic Joe Murphy's Power of Your Subconscious Mind. I see Bob and Missy are here. Catherine, Ivier, Janet, Linda, Lindsay, and Stuart. Good to see you, Stuart. Is that a hat you got there? Are you like out in the cold or something? Yeah, all right. Yeah, doing the winter thing. Winter, I remember that.
It's winter here, man. You're leaving it behind.
I left it behind a while ago. Yeah. I'm not going north of I-10. Like never go north of I-10. Anyway, good to see you all. Wow, four chapters on a different angle. You know, I gotta say that, and I said it, I think this morning, that one of the reasons that I love this book is because it approaches the same truth or the same directive, right? What he's telling us to do is take conscious, use of our thought to therefore shape what our innermost expectations, belief, our subconscious thoughts, and therefore what we're attracting in our lives. As James Allen said, in life, you don't get what you want, you get who you are, right? So we're getting lots of different angles on that. And he just gave us a couple more angles, right? We got to talk about marriage and, human interpersonal relations and all this stuff all comes down to the same. It's just the same ideas, just from different angles. So whichever ones are most relevant to you, I suppose, well, then go ahead and hitch your wagon to that one. But it's the same thing over and over again. And I noticed that in the last two paragraphs of chapter 16. So this week we're covering 13 through 16. But in chapter 16 on your subconscious mind and harmonious human relations, I want to put everyone's attention on this, and then we'll open it up for discussion, because we what were the four chapters we read? The wonders of sleep. I could probably use a little bit more of that, as could Ivier. Your subconscious mind and marital problems, happiness, your subconscious mind and happiness, and then your subconscious mind and harmonious human relations. And this one got to me. While I'm most I would say ostensibly interested in the wealth creation, your subconscious mind as a partner in success, and all the stuff that we read in the previous chapters. These last two paragraphs seem to sum it up for me. Let me share my screen. After reading these four chapters, these last two paragraphs of this chapter 16 was like, oh yeah, there you go. Under the subheading of appeasement never wins. Mm-hmm. Do not permit people to take advantage of you and gain the point by temper tantrums, crying jags, or so-called heart attacks. These people are dictators. Wow. Who try to enslave you and make you do their bidding. So as I'm reading this, I'm thinking of, it could be people, it could be other influences, suggestions. Remember, we talked about heterosuggestion. Be firm but kind and refuse to yield. So what are we talking about? Maintaining integrity with our innermost vision of ourselves and who we are intending to be. Appeasement never wins. Refuse to contribute to their delinquency, selfishness, and possessiveness. Remember, do that which is right. You are here to fulfill your ideal and remain true, there it is again, to the eternal verities and spiritual values of life, which are eternal. So when confronting the irrational, the tyrant, the dictator, the ne'er-do-well, which I could also say when confronting circumstances, things that may not seem pleasing to me, things that would suggest to me that I can't or I shouldn't or whatever, then I've got to remain, how did he say it here? Firm but kind. He goes on, give no one in all the world the power to deflect you from your goal, your aim in life, which is to express your hidden talents to the world, to serve humanity, and to reveal more and more of God's wisdom, truth, and beauty to all people in the world. Remain true to your ideal. Integrity. It's everything. Know definitely and absolutely that whatever contributes to your peace, happiness, and fulfillment must of necessity bless all men who walk the earth. The harmony of the part is the harmony of the whole. Integrity, as within, so without. Aha, okay. For the whole is in the part, and the part is in the whole. All you owe the other, as Paul says, is love, and love is the fulfilling of the law of health, happiness, and peace of mind. So health, happiness, and peace of mind, there it is. And we could also say that happiness, right? Part of that is experiencing, the accomplishment of known goals and the overcoming of knowable problems, right? And not being cowed under or suppressed by suggestions or suppressive people who would make less of you. Integrity. Stay the course. To me, these two chapters, regardless of how we're applying it, this is, of course, in the chapter on, interpersonal relations, but can we, and we're going to open it up now because I'd love to hear don't ever give your power away. You got it, Avier. Can we objectively look, let's say somebody was screaming at you. Could you, well, certainly the answer is yes, that we could go into agreement with that. We could go into succumbing to and being seduced into their level of emotional outburst or whatever. We could do that. Or we could demonstrate how evolved we are and not do that. And so one of the things that I've done when I remember to do it is that if someone is accosting me with, their tirade or whatever irrational stuff that they're demonstrating, one of the things that I could remember to do from time to time is to observe it objectively as sounds. Yes, these are sounds. These are noises. They have meaning. Okay, but the meaning that they're offering is not the meaning that I'm willing to decipher. I get to reinterpret. Me responsible, right? I get to reinterpret. What are these noises coming out of that mouth over there? And remain detached. No power over me. When I remember to do it. Okay. And this is, I guess this is part of growing up. This is part of, maturing or evolving. Right. As easy as it is to do that when we remember, it's even easier to forget and just not do it. Go be a child. Go into agreement with that. Go fight. And some of these chapters were the hard ones for me to swallow, because especially when he's talking about, like, here's the woman's husband who throws a fit when he sees the politics in the newspaper and whatever. And now I'm supposed to love my neighbor. There's a few people I could think of right now where I'm having a hard time reinterpreting their good nature or something. And I'm not going to get into details on that. But I've got my positions, and they've obviously got a very, very different one. So these were profound chapters for me. Profound. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this. Thank you for bearing with me. I just had to read those last two paragraphs because I thought that was like, wow. We got one more week left on this book too, so we'll come in for a landing here. But who has some thoughts on these 4 chapters on happiness and human relations and avoiding divorce? Missy, what do you know about these things?
First of all, when Bob was reading the marriage thing, there was a lot of laughter going on, so I don't know what that was about. But you can't do what you just talked about until you do in the earlier chapter. Choose happiness, decide happiness. If you have not made that your choice and your habitual dominant thought, you can't do the rest. I mean, I know you did that training where you went into a room and people screamed at you, and you had to sit there and take it. I mean, was that the same reaction as what he's talking about, or was that different? I mean, that was some serious communication training stuff that I did. Yeah, that's. Was it internalized like this, or was it?
Well, no, and what Missy's referring to is I mentioned to her that I've done some like communication, like advanced communication course kind of stuff. And one of the drills is where you sit there without flinching, without moving a muscle, without reacting in any way, as your partner is screaming at you and think every insult you can imagine, and telling jokes as well, and anything they can do to get a reaction. And you just sit there for hours. So really intense. If you want more details on it, I'll hook you up, but it's really intense. But now you can confront pretty much anything, right? Whatever you got to say, bring it on.
If you can
Mute.
get the, we're muted? No.
What's the mute up there? Oh, anyway,
Oh,
we're not
if-
mute.
You can't do that until you have internalized it. And I have ways to go. Gear Bubble probably has a arrest warrant out for me at this point because they're causing me problems, losing clients and so on. And I for 2 days, I was in tears and screaming. And this poor man had to listen to it. And because I'm not, I have not yet reached that point, although I'm going to, because I have a burning desire to do it. I just haven't stepped into the shoes. In fact, if I could just say one more thing, Stuart, I think you'll really appreciate this. I did a meditation the other day. I don't know how to do meditation, but I did one. And I was imagining Neville Goddard talking to me and me talking to him because I know his voice. And usually he tells me how great I am and that was very good and you're going to do this would be great. But he didn't. He said, why will you not step into the shoes that are already made for you and fit you and just be she or be her or whatever he said. And I was like, then I woke myself up. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It seems so simple. And you can say, well, there are processes, but these things can be instantaneous. I believe they can be. So if anyone has any suggestions, because I need it, because I'm going to give myself a heart attack from Gear Bubble. And it's just not necessary. Plus the website people, he's somewhere in there, he says, pray for them. And I will, after I choke them to death, then I'll say a prayer, but this has got to stop. And I know I'm the only one who could do it, but I guess I don't have the right tools yet. They're in front of me, but I can't apply them properly in the moment. I have what you said this morning, I have the knowledge, but what did you say? Intellectual knowledge of that application is, you said bupkis or something.
The booby prize.
The booby prize.
Yeah, you win the booby prize. You get you get to talk about theory like a parrot or something, but not actually apply it,
Well, I'm saying it to people who are listening who may be in the same shape.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to be vulnerable, but Neville Goddard said to me, why will you not step into those shoes of who you really are? Because I want it so bad. So that's, all I can say is I'm working on it. And if anybody has a paragraph they want to send to me, I'm open to anything. So.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we're going to hear plenty about this. And what Missy is talking about, for those who don't know, it's technical, having to do with e-commerce, websites, and all this. And here's this company that keeps throwing curveballs at her, and she's not having it, right? And so, and yet, who keeps showing up in the state of frustration? Missy, right? So again and again in the book, he talks about our own responsibility for our thoughts and how he talks about like scientific prayer, how we're praying for that person. I found many examples here in the book where here's the woman who's out of accord with her coworkers, and or the guy who seems to keep getting looked over for the promotion. And so rather than railing against that and mocking up this argument in the mind, right, here's the alternative, which is I bless them, right? And I know that all is in harmony and in divine order, which may sound like a lie if we're just looking at ourselves as a player on the field, right? And that's my opponent, then yeah, that seems like a lie. But if we take a higher position, you're talking about Neville Goddard and meditation and all this. Okay, so if we take a higher position and all that, and cultivate the posture of the observer or witness, then we could observe ourselves on the field and not be so damn attached to it. Be above the game, so to speak, not just in the game. You're still in the game, but be able to confront the whole game and to then, without conditions on it, offer blessings, pray scientifically, things of good report, right? There's something likable about them. I mean, they got a mother somewhere. Right. and Stuart's reminding us, what was the name of your company? Solace, something about solace. Is that right?
Solace? Solace. Oh, solace. Yes, solace. Yeah, that's for the other people, not for me. Solace is nice.
That's, no, you sell it. You're not buying it. You're just selling it. I don't.
I want, in all seriousness, it is, my life will improve 10 billion fold. And in the past, I've learned, well, there are no hormones, the cancer, the surgery, the this, the that. Right. And there's no more of the that. It's a choice. And I am making it, but I'm admitting that I'm failing 3 days in a row, so, and then I come to the meeting next time. I feel much better. I feel much better. Okay. But
So you're dealing with difficult people. All right. Welcome to planet Earth. I'm sure others have experiences with this. Janet, for one. Hi, Janet.
Hello.
Oh, Janet.
Hello, darlings. Well, in chapter 13, so I like this. I will tell you that I had a very hard time forgiving my dad's sister, my aunt, who was not my aunt for a while. She was just by her first name. He relaxes when he's going to sleep, he relaxes his whole body, starting with his toes, working all the way up. When you're relaxed, you can't be tense. And when we're angry and upset, we are not relaxed, right? So he goes through and relaxes his whole entire body, and then says, if I can read, I fully and freely forgive everyone. That's what you're, I think, struggling with there. Fully and freely forgive everyone. And it's not like so that I can have something back. It's not, it's not like I'm going to do this so that I get, no, it's I fully and freely forgive everyone, sincerely wish for them harmony, health, peace, and all the blessings of life. I think when people are being difficult, they're struggling. They've got problems going on, and I don't want to add to them, and I don't want to be part of them. Now, this is all theory, Missy. I mean, am I perfect? No, but I think you don't want to be part of their scenario in that way. You don't want to buy in to the problems they're making. And I think that they're struggling, because I love, things about this book. He says it's always life-giving, always toward life, always toward the good things. It's never to put you down. It's always toward life, and life being happiness and love and harmony and those things. So he finds himself, he puts himself in peace. He wishes for them sincerely harmony, health, peace, and all the blessings of life. Because when these people have that, they won't be dealing with you in the way they are too, and you won't be reacting back. I rest in security and in peace. A great stillness steals over me, and a great calm quiets my whole being as I realize the divine presence within me. I know that the realization of life and love heals me. I wrap myself in the mantle of love and fall asleep with goodwill for all, and then wakes up in the morning with peace and filled with life and love. I have said this before here, but I have kind of learned that when people are kind of their ugliest, I used to have somebody who said, "Now don't act ugly." when when they're at their ugliest, it's when they need the most love, the most forgiveness, the most of what you have to give to them, not when they're easy to love. And so even if it's a company, even if it's the way they do their website and whatever else, whatever they're putting out there, they are not in harmony themselves. And I remember a story, but I can't tell it, but this person who would come through the cafeteria line, and there was a disgruntled person serving, and he always, even silently, wished them love, wished them forgiveness, everything, just put the vibes out there. And one day they changed. They kind of got it and felt it. So I think that I'm one of the ways suggesting get very relaxed, so that then the flow can open, and you can wish them the kind of harmony and peace that you would like to be able to deal with. So that's that part, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. So there's your solace, or solace, however you pronounce it. I say solace. I think it's actually solace. Missy's probably right, because Missy's very scholarly. But this whole idea, and the floor is open for anyone else who wants to talk on this whole idea of choosing happiness and harmony, even if you're, I would say out of accord, right, with those other influences or people who we're not doing this alone, right? That's the evolution, I think, that we're all looking for. Not soulless. Yeah, right. Solace. Thank you, Stuart. Stuart, come on out here, brother. These 4 chapters, I think, were profound. Did you get anything out of this?
I agree. I mean, you had mentioned last week that you enjoyed those chapters about wealth creation and abundance. And I think, based on, what we're doing here, those are critical chapters. But like I look at, there's a lot of, I don't want to say repetitive or redundancy, but the reality is, once you hold the master key to abundance, riches, happiness, manifestation, whatever it is, right? It's the same procedure, right? And so I like that he kind of repeats these same principles and these same tenets to help us manifest whatever we want in our lives, whether it's success in business or happiness or healthy relationships or any of that kind of stuff. So I appreciated that a lot. Missy, I got to say, like Amazon, same kind of stuff, but we're dealing with these big giant companies, and okay, Gear Bubble, may not be as big as some of these other ones, but this is where you may be dealing with soulless, right? In the sense of, you're dealing with bots, you send an email, you get an automated response back. We've had a lot of issues and problems with Amazon and things like that. And yeah, I can get mad at some random person who may not even be a person halfway around the world answering some, customer service email or something like that. But right, reading this, Joe Murphy is obviously a student of Stoicism, right? He drops a lot of MA quotes. He drops a lot of Epictetus quotes. And even in maybe chapter 15 or 16, repeats a couple of times, it's not the events in our lives, but how we respond to them, right? And so the obstacle is the way, right? It's how we face these challenges, right? And with every obstacle, with every frustrating moment in whatever it is that we're dealing with is a precious gift, right? And it's the gift of, being able to be introspective, self-reflective, understand about ourselves, and figure out, how to overcome that obstacle. And whatever it is, even if the obstacle is just how to deal with difficult people, right? or how to deal with difficult situations. And then you overcome that and you learn that. And then the next time there's some BS from corporate headquarters or whatever it is, then we're just that much more adept at dealing with those things. I wrote some notes, of course, about these chapters. And I thought it was interesting, that our nerves are awake even when we're asleep, in our brain. The nerves are awake, and the nerves in our ears and our tongue and our taste buds and all these things are actually active. One of the coolest quotes I thought out of this so far was the Bigelow quote about the nobler part of the soul is united by abstraction to our higher nature and becomes a participant in the wisdom and foreknowledge of the gods. I thought that was super inspiring. And then it's necessary to withdraw periodically from our sense evidence of the world and to commune silently with the inner wisdom of the subconscious mind. He talks about sleep deprivation, how important sleep is. John, I know this probably was a little bit of a wake up, pun intended, right? Janet, you were talking about sleep when you're dead, right? I mean, I've had a long period in my life where, I went on 4 hours or less or whatever, and sometimes days at a time with no sleep and things like that. And I think I still kind of think, that was like, a good thing to be like superhuman and all this kind of stuff. And yet, when you hear about psychotic breaks and, even a lot of torture, right, is based on sleep deprivation and, boot camp and all this kind of stuff about reprogramming the mind, right? They use that to break people down. The tired brain will sacrifice anything to get more sleep, even by falling asleep at the wheel and jeopardizing your life, right? My own father passed away falling asleep at the wheel because he had insomnia and kept his 9 to 5er, no sleep, couple hours a night if he was lucky, and drove to work and, hit a tree on his way to work. So this was powerful stuff to me. He talks about Dr. Rhine from the Duke experiments, which we've talked about before, and precognition and clairvoyance and clairaudience, and that your subconscious mind knows the future, right? I thought that was very cool, and that the future is a result of our habitual thinking. Even gets into like the future of a country lies in the collective subconscious of the people of that nation, right? And to me, there's a lot of Jungian kind of collective unconscious stuff there, and that we know the answer. And maybe some people would, if you've heard the term the Akashic Records or the Great Cosmic Library or whatever that is. Then he talks about nothing. What has he said? Tomorrow's events are in your subconscious, and yet nothing is predetermined, right? So I like that he kind of says both of those things are almost contradictory, but it's all based on our mental attitude, right? And so even though tomorrow's events may be in your subconscious, nothing is predetermined or preordained, and our mental attitude determines our destiny. Then he talks about Robert Louis Stevenson, right? And I thought that was pretty interesting because on the one hand, and I read his essay about his brownies and the mental, what was it? He calls them like little beings, or like little beings in his head that he would talk to and help him write. And I think
like a muse, like a little fairy muses that run around or something.
Right, exactly. And I was like, brownies, very interesting. Where does that even come from? And of course, those of you that know, a lot of those Victorian era authors were all very into opium dreams and hashish. And I read some stuff about, he wrote like 60,000 words a day for Jekyll and Hyde for like 6 days or something crazy like that. And of course, on the one hand, props to the brownies, but I think there was the little white powder that helped him do a little bit of
whiteys were in there too. Yeah.
Bob, I'll defer to you for a minute, Bob. What's up?
Yeah. You know what? Some interesting work has come from, a drunken stupor, I suppose. Okay. But a lot of tragedies come from it as well. So what Stewart is not suggesting is that everybody go and eat hash brownies. Okay, that's not the instruction tonight. By the way, Stuart, how many hours of sleep do you get now?
Now I get a lot. I mean, now that I'm not having to wake up at 5:30 in the morning and go to bed at midnight or whatever it is, I'm definitely getting a lot more sleep. I don't know.
I get about 6, and
Yeah.
I'm good. That's it.
I feel good with about 6. I know that
Yeah.
they say 8, and I think everybody's different. And, you know, I know, John, we're similar in the sense that we have very active minds, and then we probably go to bed, you know, just turning and turning. And it's probably, it's a little challenging for me to shut off, as is probably many of you guys.
I don't. I sleep like a rock.
There you go, man.
I am on and then I'm off, and then I'm on and then I'm off. Missy, you had your hand up.
No, it's just, I said, I had a sleep problem my entire life. And it's
Yeah.
because of a lot of this current situation that I've been in for 20 years.
I was actually the one who raised the hand because Stuart provided me the as usual the cue, and Stevenson wrote Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde after having dreamed it. He had a very vivid dream. The whole plot is a man who's able to divide his self into a good and an evil. And he had such a vivid and extraordinary dream. And you're right, he did in the 6 days following that dream. So it was always fresh in his mind. He composed the whole thing. Humorous thing about brownies. They are supposedly little fairy-like creatures. And for those of you who follow American football, I used to very religiously, but the football team in Cleveland was known as the Browns. They were named after their first coach, a man named Paul Brown. But they adopted, right after Paul Brown left the organization, the Brownie as their mascot. And I remember very well, their end zone had this little elf-like creature painted into it. And I think a few of the more macho individuals in the organization said, we're the Browns, not the fairies. Nevertheless, back to the subject. John, I second everything you said. This is a very, very profound set of chapters that we wrote. And Stuart, I concur with you. This is somewhat, you might say, repetitive, but he's been building to this. He's been building this, the whole theme of how the subconscious mind has to effectively have its day. And if we are going to be productive members of society in any way, shape, or form, we have to orient our subconscious with that which is good and that which is wholesome. The quote from Philippians, which was in, I believe, chapter 15 or chapter 16. All those things, if they become part of our subconscious, that will come out of us. Where we run into problems, though, is we're awake, unfortunately, 2/3 of the day, 2/3 of our lives, and we're getting all these sense impressions. And part of what we have to do as human beings is make sense of what the outside world is telling us. And we are surrounded, unfortunately, by a lot of cognitive dissonance. And so I believe the subconscious, particularly in this day and age, is just kind of run over, sort of like a steamroller flattens it. We have really no time to attune ourselves to the subconscious, to train our subconscious. And if only, now this is a great little group to start with, putting into practice these exercises and just making the one determination that I know what I need to do. Subconsciously, this is ingrained in me. I am my car over my dog. Okay. Will certainly be a great force for the betterment of the world. And all has to start with choosing to better ourselves and just listen to our subconscious.
Thank you, Bob. Well, it's, as Stuart was quoting, the future is in your subconscious mind. I got the picture of a train track, So here's the train, and there's a track which was laid deliberately in a direction with much sustained effort. So he talks about habits, habitual ways of thinking. But then he also says, well, it's not preordained because, through prayer, through, conscious thought and our attitudes, in other words, the culmination of our thoughts, feelings, and actions, we can put a switch in the track. We can work up ahead. We can think ahead. And that's what I was picturing, is the train doesn't have to go down that track. Yes, habitually, that's what it does. But here's another track. So am I willing to build it? Work. This is work, right? Building train tracks in the mind, so to speak. So, and I think when he talks about the scientific use of prayer, that's what he's talking about, is being willing to take sustained and consecutive thought deliberately and inductively, rather than just being so deductive all the time, or just worshiping agreement, right? Let's not rock the boat. Well, sometimes we're going to rock the boat, right? There was this Jesus guy who was flipping over tables, right? He's willing to rock the boat. Interesting stuff. But I guess that's why you got to get good sleep, right? So when you show up in the den of thieves, you can kick over some tables without getting too tired.
He also talks about meditation, but he doesn't call it that. He says prayer is a form of sleep. And talking about withdrawing from the subconscious mind, the regular withdrawal from sense evidence and the noise and confusion of everyday life is a form of sleep. But he's not talking about when you're asleep. He's talking about meditating. May not have had the word then. You become asleep to the world of the senses and alive to the wisdom and the power of your subconscious mind. So when you get real quiet, I find for myself, if I ask a question and I put it out there, I have to get really, really quiet to hear the answer. This is not during sleep. This is getting really quiet. And sometimes it may not come for 3 days, but when I was taking care of my dad, I was responsible for his care. And they wanted to give him a tube in his stomach to be able to survive, because he couldn't swallow. And so it was a really heavy decision, and I was the only one to make it. And so I asked, what about this? And I was quiet for 3 days, and finally the answer came. And the wisdom came for me as I heard it. There are just things that you have to be quiet. You have to be really, really still, and have other things not impinge on you, not be in the middle of decisions, doing this, something else, that. Really, really quiet. And about the sniffing stuff, whatever, there are many ways to be in an altered state of consciousness. The whirling dervishes, the people who go into hypnotic dance, there's certain kinds of breath work and things like that. They all bring you into a different level of consciousness, and you don't have to necessarily go on the trips of substance to do it, but you can also, out of those places, travel into places which you couldn't with your regular conscious mind. And so
Thank you,
just wanted
Janet.
to offer that.
Very good. Let's hear from Ivier, and Stuart's giving us some history on brownies here. So they do chores, huh? So I guess no relation to El Chupacabra, right? Different guy. Yeah. If anybody doesn't know what El Chupacabra is, look it up. Hey, Ivier.
Hello, John. Hello, everyone.
Hey.
So, for me, these chapters, on some level, struck a chord and got me thinking. And on some level, I thought, like the whole thing about sleep. A part of me knows how important sleep is, but I'm just like, there's so much to do. This, oh my God, like, there are not enough hours in the day. So can I really afford to sleep? But I'm learning that lesson and I'm trying, but I don't know that I'm ever going to get that right. But I'm going to have to find a balance at some point because I'm awake more than I sleep, which is probably bad if I look at it in long term. But that's something for another day. Just following on from what Janet was saying about meditation and taking time out. For me, this platform was a type of separation from the senses, from the world, because we've created something here where we're thinking in a different way, we're speaking a different language that's contrary to what we find out there. So the average Joe, on the street is not part of this conversation. And so their thought process, their outlook, their perspective is so far removed from where we are that this in itself is a form of separation, a form of meditation, a form of getting back in touch with our subconscious minds. And that's from all the books we've read and the conversations we're having. It's forcing us to look within and be true to ourselves, to be integral, to be people of integrity, right? So that's something else I wanted to say. And then I wanted to say to Missy, your test might be the frustration you have with this particular company. But for some of us, I mean, this for me was an eye opener. It was when it comes to interpersonal relationships, like I've been divorced, right? And maybe the other two significant relationships I've had have pretty much gone the same way. So clearly I'm making the same choice again and again and again. But something shifted for me after John spoke about posture, where I took time out and I meditated on that word. And I've taken that word into different parts of my life. So much so now that the word posture, with regards to my interpersonal relationships, also has renewed meaning for me. So I'm approaching that part of my life differently. And for the first time ever, I'm having to answer those questions. So I'm facing those questions, I'm answering those questions, and I'm making different decisions. And therefore, I'm seeing different outcomes. And where I go into something where I think it's that same old record playing, I have the posture now to stop it in its tracks and say, you know what? I'm not playing this anymore. I'm not going down that road. Thanks, but no thanks. And I walk away before I invest too much time, energy, and everything else. And then realize, why have I spent so much time doing this? Oh my God, right? I should have walked away from this on day 2 or week 2 or whatever. But it's taken me several tries. Like, I fall down, I get back up again to finally come to the place where I'm true to myself. I know what I want. I know what I deserve. And I have the posture to actually say when it's not what I want, when it's something that's taking my power away, or if something that's demeaning me, or if it's something that's not giving me the value that I place on myself, because I'm not letting somebody else place the value on me now. I'm going in saying, this is what I'm worth. This is my value. So it's not somebody else determining my value anymore. And that's where it's changed, right? So I'm just saying to Missy, your test could be with this company, but I promise, keep showing up. One day something will click, you will get the answer, like Janet says, and you will get that posture to pass this test. So right now you probably feel, oh my God, I'm writing this test or I'm taking this test again and again and again. But the time will come when you'll do it that one time and you'll ace it. It would just be, and you'd be like, oh my goodness, I got it. I finally passed it. I've done it, right? But that aha moment will come. Just keep showing up. And if you need study buddies, I mean, there's so many of us on here, we will happily study with you so you pass it the next time around. But, we're all learning, right? And for each of us, our tests are going to come in different areas. But these 4 chapters were just, I got a slap upside the head and, it was just like, it's crazy, but it was good. So, yeah.
Thank you, Vivier.
You're welcome.
And jokingly, we all talk about Vivier as she who shall not sleep, right? Because here she is. Right, here she is right now at 2:45 a.m. in England, right? But something else you brought up there, Vivier, because obviously you are effective and you are advancing in life, and what you're doing is working. All right, so let's acknowledge that. But then you also talked about marital problems, okay, and relationships and all this. But he opened that whole chapter with this idea that ignorance what do you say here? Ignorance of the functions and powers of the mind is the cause of all marital trouble. Now that's a pretty bold statement. All? That's the cause of all marital trouble? Okay. But he goes on and he talks about the false premise of why people get into these relationships. Oh, for money, social position, some sense of security or havingness, or the getting of something which they don't see that they already possess, their own ability, their own causation. And so in this chapter, he says here, hold on, let me go ahead and share this. I thought this was profound, and you reminded me of it as you were talking, VA. So here, ignorance of the functions and powers, cause of all marital trouble. He goes on, because this indicates a lack of security, honesty, and true love. Such a marriage is a farce, a sham, and a masquerade. He's talking about marrying to get something that you can't do for yourself. That seems to me to be the whole premise of this sham of a relationship, right? Where we will state, here are my intentions, here's my vows, love, and all this lofty stuff, but for real, right, here it is. Security and peace of mind come from knowledge of the inner powers within her. He's talking about this made-up woman, and from the constant use of the laws of her own mind in a constructive fashion.
John, you're very right. So these are the kind of questions I have had to answer for myself, that why have I gotten the results that I have had again and again through the years? And so for the first time, I'm looking myself in the mirror, and I've actually gone into my subconscious and I've had that conversation with myself, and I'm being true and answering those questions and saying, this is what, because I've gone in with the wrong premise every time. The first time I was looking for security because I thought, didn't have it growing up, didn't have the father figure. And that was just the wrong way of looking at that. The next time around, it was something along similar lines, maybe just phrased a different way with different words. But it's confronting that and knowing that each time I have gone into those situations with the wrong mindset. But it's taking that courage. And I think that maybe vulnerability or integrity, I think, to look at myself and actually just say, be true. Stop fibbing, stop deceiving yourself, stop going around and round in circles. This is insanity. You're doing the same thing, you're expecting different results. So how badly do you want this? And if you want it, then do it right? So I'm asking those questions, I'm having to answer them. And so for the first time, I'm watching for those cues. And when I see that old behavior or the old recording surface, I'm in a better place now where I can stop it in its tracks and say, you know what, that's it, enough. We're not doing that anymore. This is where we're going to go, because this is a better way to go into a situation like this, right? So yeah, it's the 4 chapters were just like, oh my God, I felt like I was being, like I went to the principal's office and I was smacked and I was told to sit on the naughty step and the whole works. I went through the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, EVA.
EVA, in fairness to yourself, I think that we think that we're doing the right thing. We think we're seeing ourselves the right way. And there's layers that need to be, as we look and as we, it takes time to really understand what we're about. We think, I'm clear about this, but clarity doesn't come that easily. I think we need to work on it. And, so you don't get it the first time round, but you keep getting lessons until you do.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, we got Stuart and Bob and Missy, and then we'll probably be wrapping up. Oh, hey, Stuart.
I'm going to defer to our friends Bob and Missy.
Hey, Bob and Missy.
So remember the entire, I think it's just, oh my dear God, my brain. What did something Janet just said about layers? It's all programming. When you're tired, I've been very tired. I don't sleep well currently, but I will. the old programming, it took me over. And I was saying to myself, what am I doing? What am I saying? Why am I doing this? This is not who I am. This is not who I want to be. It was so strong. I seemed unable to overcome it until it had passed its way and won the battle against me. But it is integrity. And it was a lack of integrity that led me to behave the way I behaved the last few days. Don't look at me though. It's what it boils down to. It's integrity. And I didn't have enough strength, or I didn't think I had enough strength. But that's basically, it is, that word is the key word to all of this. I'm doing much better most of the time, but those were some days of trouble. So please, Stuart, go right ahead, honey. Thank you.
Bob, I think that might have been an apology. I don't know. It kind of sounded like it.
No, truth.
Just teasing. The marriage one, there are some really key points I thought were interesting. I mean, again, a lot of this is of the theme of, that which we think about other people, we actually do to ourselves, right? And, the guy that didn't trust his wife, that he lived in fear that the wife was going to leave him, but then that bred all kinds of problems. And then, of course, self-fulfilling prophecy, right? He kind of said one thing after another. But a couple of takeaways from that chapter: the best time to prevent divorce is before marriage, right? I thought that was pretty cool. Divorce first takes place in the mind and then on paper, right? And that, we indulge in negative thoughts, we indulge in pet peeves, right? And we let these things fester, right? And that's where, that's the seeds of discontent or unhappiness or whatever. It says not to discuss our marital problems with our friends and family, right? Because depending on who you talk to, right? I've never been one to kiss and tell or fight and tell or whatever it is, right? And I'm an only child, but my wife's got 2 sisters. She's middle child, and a mother, who all are very much a part of my daily life. And I would never, ever get anybody involved in any of my, ups and downs and marital issues, that's for sure. And that marriage doesn't necessarily bequeath happiness by default, right? And then to me, like the powerful chapter here is the one on happiness, right? And that the external events or physical objects in our lives aren't what bring happiness. Those are transitory, impermanent things, right? And that happiness is a state of mind, right? A la Neville Goddard, right? It's a state of being, right? And that a la James Clear, happiness is a habit and the result of habitual thinking or a daily practice, like a spiritual practice, right? Like the farmer who he was like, why are you so happy? And he makes it his practice every day. Get up, be thankful, be grateful for what you have. You go to bed, you're thankful, you bless everyone, all the animals, all the plants, everything, right? Your life is a walking, living blessing of everything in your life and everything around you, right? And only good comes from that, right? And he talks about how the good and the evil that we do or think about other people or act upon other people comes back to us. What was the quote from Matthew? Meats and measures, right? I thought that's another meat that I didn't know, right? The METE, right? The doling out upon you kind of thing. In other religions and spiritual texts, right, they talk about the threefold law, and that which you think about or do upon other people comes back to you 3 times or in multiples of and again, some people call it karma. I don't necessarily see that as the definition of karma. That to me is cause and effect, but that concept of that what we do to other people or that what we think about other people. And he's very clear to say that the people that hate their, I don't even like to use the word, the H word, to their coworkers and their bosses and the people that resent people in their lives and their spouses, and they either resent them for what they have or who they are or whatever it is. And the reality is that they're creating and attracting and manifesting that in their own lives, right? And so those are big lessons. And I think it's easy. What did he say, Janet? You were kind of saying, you were alluding to this, like it's simple, but it's hard, right? And he talks about it being it's very simple. The formula is very simple. A plus B is C or whatever it is, but it's hard to do in practice in our lives. And not again a nod to Emmett Fox. Don't indulge in negative thoughts, defeatist thoughts, unkind thoughts, or depressing thoughts. And this concept of if you only had, right, and if you only had, I'm big on sound effects, so I do that too. And I just push it away with a big wind of positivity or whatever. But this concept of if you only had X, then you'd be happy, whatever it is. If I only had the car, if I only had the thing, if I only had this or whatever, then I would be happy. And the reality is that if your happiness is dependent on externalities, then you're never going to be happy, right? And he quotes a lot of stoicism in here.
Epictetus.
Say it again.
Epictetus, right in there. One of the last paragraphs.
Yeah. What is it? The one way to tranquility and happiness, and this is paraphrased, when you wake up all day long and when you go to sleep, to account no external thing as your own. Give them all to God, right? Fascinating. The kingdom of happiness is in our own thoughts and feelings, right? What was the other thing? Whatever we think about others impresses on our subconscious and creates and attracts that for us, but that we can discipline our minds, right? He always kind of gives us, he always goes back to the master key or whatever, whatever set of keys, that he's giving us. Because he says, yeah, there's a lot of shit that can go wrong. There we can, he talks about, oh my God, the mental hunchbacks and the, and the mental delinquents and all these things, right? But he says that we can change those things. And then on human relations, and I'll be quick because I know we got a couple more minutes here. Negative thoughts are like mental poison, right? And this to me is a callback to James Allen as well, right? Negative thoughts will kill a man as sure as any bullet, right? Negative thoughts are mental poison. And then he talks more about suggestion. And I looked up suggestion a few chapters back, and one of the old world medieval French definitions of suggestion is a prompting to evil, right? And there's a lot of interesting things about, even in the Bible, like I looked up all the different references of, I don't think it was the word thought, but maybe it was suggestion, but it was all about like thinking ill upon other people, right? And so I think this goes back a long ways, that as much as we understand that our thoughts can manifest good in our lives, but thinking ill about other people is a really bad thing. And we've been warned about that for thousands of years, right? And so I'll have to look up what word in the Bible had, like it was 29 times. And I think 27 of those times it was like thinking evil upon somebody else. So very interesting. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, just amazing. Love it. I won't even bother anymore, but great stuff. Looking forward to the next 4 chapters. And thank you, John, for just bringing these books to us time after time.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you, Stuart. And thank you, everyone, for going through them with me. It's one thing to just go through them and make my own little highlights and whatever. It's another thing to hear your perspectives on it, because we all come at it from different, experience. We're going to conclude this book next week. So that means we got to pick another one. We are going to take the Christmas week off. All right. So we've got next week, which will be the final chapters. And then the week between Christmas and New Year, we're going to take the that week off from book study group, mostly because I'm moving that week. But guys, start thinking of which book is next. I keep hearing Neville's name, so I think we're going to have to do a Neville book. The one that's coming to mind for me is Awakened Imagination. But if somebody else has one that you'd rather go down that road, and just so you guys know, Neville really gets into more like the mystical and, you know, very Christian, you know, scripture kind of stuff. So if you want to do that, guys, pick a book. All right. I'm open to suggestions on that. Or we could do Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. That's a good one to do if you want to do something a bit more out there. So, all right.
Can I just say that,
yeah.
I'm sorry. So I knew a man, he had an art store, and he was happy and he would be grateful and he would say nice things to people. And I said something to him, you know, I said, Leonard, you're always so positive and everything. He says, you know, so many people, you know, you have the grumpy old men kind of thing. And he says, I don't want that to be who I become. And so I every day work on this positive attitude, this gratefulness, this everything, so that it is ingrained in me and I do not become that kind of person.
Right. There you go. How conscious of him. That's beautiful. Because you either get better or bitter. Yeah.
Good.
Good times, everyone. Love you all. Thanks for being here. Of course, this was brought to you by the paying members of the John Lavenia Success Mastermind. If you're seeing this on YouTube, go to jlsuccessmastermind.com and grab yourself a trial membership, and you will be happy that you did. I'll see you guys all back here next